In this video, I want to provide a quick introduction to cost and work centers and how they interact in SAP. This is a follow-up video following the previous video I made on work centers in SAP. So this is also a topic that is, of course, related to work centers. And it's part of a video series I'm doing on production planning in SAP. You can find the content of this presentation on my blog. If you look in the video description, you will find a link that will take you to the blog post where you can find the content of these slides. To repeat what I already told in the previous video, a work center can be a machine, it can be a tool, it can be a device, it can be a person, or it can be a group of these things. Essentially, what we model with a work center, we model a spatial area within the work system of an enterprise where operations are conducted. And there can be persons and machines involved in those operations, as well as there can be costs incurred. We use work centers to be able to specify available capacities and for modeling scheduling structures. And this is then done in combination with capacity objects. It's done in combination with tasks and routing plans, and these are like the objects and also the master data that a work center interacts with. A work center is plan specific and can be created with the transaction code CR01. If you want to maintain an existing work center, you can use transaction code CR02. A work center has various views. It has the basic data view, it has the default values view, it has the capacities view, the scheduling view, and the costing view. And I provided an introduction in the previous video on work centers in SAP on these various views. So if you're interested in understanding those in greater detail, then I refer to the previous video I uploaded on work centers in SAP. So now what is a cost center? A cost center is like an organizational subunit, and it's an organizational subunit that incurs costs. We use work centers to be able to get a transparent overview of the costs that are incurred by an organization, and we want to view those costs by various organizational and functional criteria. So that is like the purpose and the motivation behind having a cost center. A cost center is defined from either a responsibility perspective or from the perspective of spatial areas. So you could be specifying a cost center for from the view of a certain responsibility. So somebody could be responsible for a defined cost center, or you could be defining a cost center for a certain area. Or you could specify cost center from other more accounting technical aspects and perspectives. For example, in many companies, you will have a cost center and that can be viewed as an area of responsibility. And for example, you would have a manager, and this manager is responsible for a certain cost center. So this is probably a very common perspective for cost centers. A cost center is assigned to a controlling area, and when we map costs to a cost center, we allow managers to see where costs are incurred in an organization. If you want to create a cost center, you can use transaction code KS01. Now I want to give a rough overview on how cost centers and work centers interact, or what the relationship between work centers and cost centers is like. So work centers, they can be assigned to a cost center. They have to be assigned to a cost center. You can have work centers from many plants assigned to a same cost center. A work center can only be assigned to one cost center, but a cost center can have many work centers that are assigned to that work center. And all work centers have to be assigned to a cost center. Essentially, what's happening is that operations are running on the work centers. Those operations are related to certain activities. Those activities, they incur costs, and those costs are then accumulated on the work centers, on the cost centers. As I said, activities are essentially those that incur the costs. A cost center evaluates activities, and the activities evaluated by a cost center must be of a type that is already defined by the controlling area which the cost center belongs to. Essentially, what we're trying to do with activity types is that we want to derive the internal cost or the internal price of fulfilling and performing those activities internally. When we assign a cost center to a work center, the work center will only be able to use those activities that are defined in the cost center assigned to the work center. This also means that in turn, a work center can only use those activities and activity types that are defined in the controlling area which the cost center is assigned to. So this was a very basic introduction to cost centers, and in upcoming videos I will also provide some more practical insight into how this works in SAP when we are taking a look at the SAP environment, and we'll be setting up a cost center, and we will be assigning a cost center to a work center.